It's one thing to set out to repair a disease by genetic modification. It's a different issue to say, hey, I want to figure out if I should use this to make a taller baby or a stronger baby or a smarter baby. This may open the door to doing those things, but I'm not sure you can hold the babies hostage and say we're not going to fix diseases because it might lead to a slippery slope.
This would introduce a new family structure, 3 genetic parents, even if the contribution of the third parent with some mitochondrial DNA was very small. This is something that should not be undertaken without serious consideration of what we're doing to family relationships.
The FDA, a 2-day fact-finding symposium on this controversial technology to manipulate genetic material to create children with not 2 but 3 genetic parents in order, scientists say, to avoid potentially fatal mitochondrial disease. But what about this, the ethics of it, and where we're heading here? We're back with the panel. Steve.
Well, I think there are basically 2 issues. Should we be doing this at all, and should we be doing it now? The first one, I think, is an exceedingly difficult ethical question. You know, if we allow, as the person in that soundbite suggested, if we allow this to happen now for what we consider noble reasons, will we then restrict this activity later for the same reasons, or will it open the door for people to pick and choose whether you're talking about eye color or height or what have you? The second question seems to me a much easier answer, and the answer is no, we shouldn't be doing it now. We would need, before anything like this was undertaken on any kind of a broader scale, to have a major national public debate about the wisdom of doing this. And there are also, I think, serious safety questions about this. If you look back at the 19 babies that were produced this way before 2001, before the FDA put a stop on this, 2 of them developed Turner syndrome, which the usual rates of incidence of that is 1 in 2,500. Now, we can't draw a line from A to B and say that that was the problem, but it raises questions, and there hasn't been any systematic longitudinal testing of the babies that were produced and the health of the children who are now alive with this.
Mara, leading ethicists have said the FDA should put the brakes on this. We have not heard from the President's Bioethics Council.
No, and I think you will hear eventually, but I think the White House feels it's a little too early for that. This is a debate that's just beginning. I agree with Steve. I don't think we should do it now. We don't know enough about it. I, for one, don't really understand what is in that mitochondrial DNA. It certainly isn't the stuff that predict or determines what kind of hair color or intelligence you have. On the other hand, there are a lot of parents who don't want to have a child with a genetic disease, and they want to do something about that. But I do think this is an important debate to have. This is the stem cell debate of today. That's what this is about. There are people who object to this because there are embryos that are destroyed in the process, as they would be with any kind of stem cells. But this is not unlike GMOs when we talk about plants. These are genetically modified human beings that we're talking about. It's a pretty big, serious debate.
Put us farther along than even Europe or Asia as far as that goes.
Well, we have, in a remarkably short time, become used to, in a blink in the human experience, to children conceived in lab dishes and brought to term in surrogate wombs. This, however, is different. It is, however, described accurately, I think, as therapy. That is, it is the pursuit of an accepted norm of health, the prevention of disease. At most, you would describe it as negative eugenics. The problem is it's in the same neighborhood as eugenics. It's one thing to say we're going to prevent a crippling or fatal illness. It's another thing to say, well, maybe there's a Michael Jordan in this DNA somewhere. I think we're a long way from that scientifically, a long way from that ethically, and if it is possible to draw a line where you can stop on this slippery slope between therapy and the engineering of designer children, it's worth trying.
I want to turn to a different study out this past week on child obesity, ages 2 to 5, down 43% in 2011-2012 compared to 2003-2004. And George, you weighed in, having some thoughts about these stats.
The most effective thing government does is disseminate public health information, smoking, seat belts, all kinds of things. If these numbers, which look like outliers, but if they're in fact real, because it's on children aged 2 to 5 when obesity sets in as a life-crippling experience, It's an astonishing way to begin to promote health. Medicine is not health. Medicine is what you do when you've lost health. This is the way to prevent terrible things from happening. If we could reduce vehicular accidents, violence, coronary artery disease, obesity, and the adult onset diabetes that comes with it, all the result of known risky behavior. If we can change behavior, we can do a lot more to reduce our health care bill than tinkering with legislation will ever do.
If those numbers are correct, and they are astonishing numbers.
I would just say that the Journal of Science has some questions.
Yeah, they're astonishing numbers. I think it is a testament to the bully pulpit, the use of the bully pulpit and moral suasion. And the First Lady has adopted this as her cause, and you've got to give her some credit for it, if in fact those numbers are true.
Final thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, well, I think that's a big if. We don't know that, and it would be an awfully short time to see that kind of a turnaround because of a campaign that the First Lady undertook.